Hi, this is Mike Loveday from StudentSportsLacrosse.com, and I'm here with Chandler Sampson from Orono High School in Minnesota. And he recently made his college choice known. We're going to talk to him a little bit about that. But Chandler, first start us off with who were your final, 4 or 5 schools kind of going into your choice.
Okay, yeah. Before I decided on the University of Massachusetts, I had been in discussions with the coaches at Notre Dame, Marquette, and also the U.S. Naval Academy. And all of the coaches were great guys and really did a lot to make me feel like their schools could have been my future home. Notre Dame was great. I was talking with Coach Byrne, and he's just a great guy. I'm actually buddies with his son Pierre, and I played with him in a couple camps. So it was a unique experience. Um, Schools like that are great because they've got that combination of great athletics with a rich academic tradition. That's really what I look for in my school. Marquette was also a really fun experience to go out there and visit, meet with Coach Amplo and Coach Brundage. And the idea of playing Midwest lacrosse really intrigued me, and kind of having the opportunity for my parents to come and watch me play, and family and friends. And Marquette's another one of the schools, great athletic programs and great academics. And lastly, what it was really between at the end of the day was between the Naval Academy and UMass. And I was able to go out to the Naval Academy over the summer, and that was just an experience I'll never forget because I was out there with Minnesota Elite for the Baltimore Summer Kickoff, and then stuck around to go meet with Coach Soul and Coach Wellner. And when we got down there, Coach Reppert took me on my visit and showed me everything. And the Naval Academy is one of those crazy experiences where not only can they offer you athletics as well as academics, but the leadership aspect of it is something that goes unrivaled to any other school. But, I mean, you couldn't really go wrong with any of those Final Four, so I
Right.
was really blessed.
So what ended up setting UMass-Lowell apart? Like, what was it about them that made them your choice?
Yeah, well, the greatest thing about UMass was Coach Stevenson, and he really went out of my way to make me feel comfortable when I got onto campus, and he really resembled a father figure, and I could definitely see myself playing under him for the next 4 years. Like when he picked me up from the airport, I wasn't really expecting what to know about him or how he was going to be, but he was just all around a great guy and really knew what he has envisioned for the program. And he's done a great job recruiting the New England area, and he's really tapping into the Canada and everywhere else, including the Midwest. And when I got on campus, it reminded me a lot of the University of Minnesota, which is where my older brother attends, and I love it down there. And so it really had that home feel for me. And just because I'll be out in Massachusetts, I'd like to get that vibe of the Minnesota kind of rivers. And I like it how it snows there, too, just so once I'm out there, I'll get a little bit of Minnesota.
Yeah, so you weren't one of those guys that was looking to totally get away and be like, I want sun and beaches. I don't want to see snow ever again.
Yeah, well, I mean, I factored in, too, if it was too hot out there, once we get into those spring practices, I don't want to sweat my butt off.
It's a definitely. I'm sure you'll sweat. If coach will probably make sure of that at some point. So, I wanted to mention. You mentioned you were playing with the Minnesota Elite, and I've talked to a couple of the guys from Minnesota. Like, what do you foresee? What are the challenges of getting recruited to major colleges? Out of Minnesota. Like, I know you had interest from Notre Dame, and I think we profiled you on ESPN High School back when we were doing that. And I know you were getting interest from Notre Dame. I think even at that point. So, for you, maybe it was a little bit different, but do you see any challenges from getting recruited? Like, because I know Minnesota Elite, you guys come to a lot of the East Coast events.
Yeah, and I mean, I really value the Minnesota Elite coaching staff with all their connections that they have with college coaches right now, D1, D2, and D3. I think the biggest difference that you'll see between the Minnesota lacrosse guys compared to like a New York lacrosse player is just kind of your accessibility to these schools' campuses and these coaches, where it's a little bit more difficult to get out for a visit because it's not, hey, we can hop in the car and drive an hour to any school in the New England area. It's we got to buy a plane ticket and a hotel, and your dad's got to come with you, and just the expenses of it was really the biggest setback. But I mean, I think the skill wise between Minnesota players compared to East Coast players is that gap is gradually decreasing just because lacrosse is becoming more popular here. But the biggest thing is just that exposure to the lacrosse culture and having Division I lacrosse schools everywhere around you in the New England area, just kind of that northeast area. Because it's a lot similar to Division I hockey in Minnesota, where almost every school's got a D1 hockey team that you could go to. But unfortunately, it's not the same story for lacrosse.
I always like to wrap up the interviews with talking to the guys, especially once you get to your senior year. If you're looking back on it, Was there something that you learned, or a piece of advice that you pass on to an underclassman to be like, hey, I wish I'd known this, or I learned this through the process that it could probably help someone in the future?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things. I mean, the first thing I'd say is you got to get in the weight room as a freshman, and especially if you aspire to be a Division One lacrosse player, you got to be that Division One athlete. And especially now with you got 2016s and 2017s giving verbals, athleticism is the only thing that you can control. And I mean, especially you just got to put the time in. You're gonna get in what you put in, and so you just got to work hard. And that's all I have to say. And you just got to kind of stay hard, work hard, be humble, and just kind of put your head down and just work as hard as you can because you're gonna see positive results. And just use everybody that you can in terms of helping you out with recruiting. Because especially in Minnesota, when I started out and back when you profiled me, I didn't really know how the recruiting process went. I just kind of thought the coaches would show up on my door like in the blind side and recruit me. But the biggest thing is just you got to use your resources and just do everything that you can and absolutely keep your grades up because if you don't have the grades, almost every door shuts on you.
Yeah, I can imagine. I think that's probably a good lesson even for the 2017s that are coming because once you make your college choice, you still got 3 or 4 years before you actually walk through those doors and got to get in there first.
Yeah, and you got to find a school too that matches up with your academics level because you don't want to get out there for the lacrosse and then realize that you can't keep up with the academics because lacrosse isn't or your college choice isn't just a 4-year choice; it's a 40-year choice, and that's something that the Minnesota elite coaches stress to us every time when we'd hear from a lacrosse coach from a Division I school.